Hey, hello everybody, I'm Aaron Heslehurst. Welcome to the program. It's Monday. Happy Monday. Just a quick one. You give me about 8.5 minutes of your time and I'll try to give you an exciting snapshot of all the latest in the world of business and money. Brexit certainly dominates the headlines. Once again, the UK Prime Minister is said to be fighting battles within her Conservative Party over the terms of leaving the European Union. And today, the EU is expected to sign off on what it wants for all of this all-important transition period, or the phase. Let's take a look at the details. There are two key dates. The 29th of March next year is when the UK government insists it is leaving the European Union. The second is the 31st of December 2020. That's when the EU wants the so-called transition period to end. And Brussels says the UK will stay in the customs union and the single market until then, which means the EU rules continue to apply, even though the UK will have no say in making any changes. One big disagreement is likely to be over international trade deals. The EU argues that whilst the UK is still in the single market, it can't sign its own trade deals without approval from Brussels. But on Friday, that man there, the UK's Brexit Secretary, David Davis, insisted the UK would be free to sign its own trade deals during the transition period. Let's get more. Thomas Cole is head of research at Open Britain and a familiar face, and joins us. Thomas, always good to see you. Just to people around the world watching, just to bring them up to speed, just uninitiated perhaps, this whole transition period. So in March of next year, the UK leaves the EU, but not really.
Well, essentially what happens is the UK government has asked for more time. Essentially the transition period is essentially to try, I guess in better words, to try getting more time to be able to negotiate future trade agreements for on the UK's behalf, and also to get, I suppose, a better deal or the best deal the UK possibly could in its future relationship with the European Union. What will happen in practice is that on the 30th of March 2019, the UK will continue to have to apply all EU rules without having a seat at the table.
Right.
So is it? I mean,
it's going to go down like a Led Zeppelin, right? With Brexiters.
Essentially, yeah. Essentially, it should go down like a lead balloon with everybody. What the UK government is doing is they're taking the UK from a position where it's been a rule maker, where it's been sitting around the table, into a position of being a rule taker until at least December 2020. We'll have to see what the final EU transition guidelines say.
Actually, the UK wanted to go a bit longer.
They want to go longer, which is slightly bizarre. You think the EU or the European Commission proposed in December until the 31st of December 2020. EU member states, the 27 are expected to sign off today until we expect that date. And then the UK government has always said around 2 years. So you'd have thought March 2021. So it's slightly bizarre, A, that you're going into this period where you're going to have less say than you do now. You've got to accept all the rules. And B, you have no idea what it is you're transitioning to. And that additional 2 years is not going to buy you enough time to A, negotiate the kind of deep and comprehensive trade agreement that the UK is looking for with the EU 27, and secondly, is unlikely to be enough time to negotiate any of these new free trade agreements with countries like the US, Australia, or India.
But can the EU? So can we, says the Australian, can the UK during the transition period still make trade deals, because the EU says no, but the UK, the Brexit Secretary says yes? I mean,
of course you could go into exploratory talks. The issue there is that if you're a country like the US or like Canada, Australia, India, you're waiting to see what the UK's relationship with the EU 27 is going to be until you know exactly what the UK can actually negotiate. So you could start preliminary talks, and they will go probably until the end of the transition period, and probably longer than that.
Yeah.
And who knows?
Because that can take years anyway.
Exactly.
Of course.
Precisely. The idea of being able to get free trade agreements with all the countries around the world with which the UK currently enjoys free trade agreements with, due to its membership of the European Union and crucially due to its membership of the customs union, to be able to negotiate all of those by the end of transition, or even a few weeks or months after that is fanciful. The UK is in reality is going to need a lot more time than that, and its biggest market both for imports and for exports is the EU 27, and that's the one relationship which we're having to spend most time on during the negotiations. And until you finish the negotiations with them, only at that point will you then actually have any real indication about as to what kind of trade deals you'll be able to do with other countries around the world.
Yeah, we've got about 30 seconds, but today basically we're going to see the EU cards. They're going to lay them on the table. But I want to ask you this: does the UK hold any cards?
If we're very realistic and honest about it, it holds very, very few cards. And the minute it goes into transition, it holds absolutely no cards at all. What it should do, if possible, is to argue for an extension of the current negotiating period of the Article 50 negotiations for longer than March 2019. If that's what's needed, that buys you more time. Going into transition is not going to put the UK in a position of strength at all.
Okay. Thomas Cole from Open Britain, always a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
We'll be talking again, of course. Up until what? 2020 maybe. Okay, Thomas, good stuff. Thank you.